Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Elevate HD podcast. It's been a while since I've recorded an episode, but I've had a number of mishaps, including laptops and also travel and all that good stuff. But we are officially back, and myself and Mel decided to make a return on the podcast today. And obviously, you probably would have seen our spam that we have just returned from Dubai, and we are not over the fact that we are home yet. So we thought we'd jump on and have a chat about our thoughts on the current bikini landscape in terms of people's expectations, realistic goal setting, timeframes, what to do, what not to do, and what we've kind of learned both from our own personal experience and what we've observed on social media. Mel has also kindly put together a list of her favorite or not so favorite icks that she has seen regarding competing and placings and just acting like an athlete, I would say. So that is what we're going to go through today. So hopefully it should be an interesting episode for you. But yeah, Malcolm. I was going to say welcome, Mel. I said Malcolm. Welcome back, Mel, to the podcast.
It can just be, you've like merged the two words. It's fine.
There's no point in speaking properly anymore. I'll just merge all the words together so it's more efficient.
Exactly.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Agreed. I'm not happy about being back from Dubai because it is freezing.
Yeah. When we returned, we came back from like 37-degree heat to like what's it been, like 6 degrees, and it has not been pleasant. Raining and storming and cold. And I'm literally I have a blanket on, I have woolly socks on. I had a hot water bottle a few minutes ago, and I just thought, okay, we'll just have to be a bit more presentable for the podcast. So we just minimalized it.
I mean, I'm moaning about it, but we are in mid-October, aren't we? So I suppose.
Yeah, I always say that. Like, I complain about the weather, yet I live in Manchester, which is probably known for one of the worst places to have weather in the UK, and I'm Irish. So it's not like I've ever like experienced a climate where I've lived there for a prolonged period of time that's actually like hot. So then every year I'm like, I can't believe it's so cold outside.
Yeah, I'm the same to be fair.
Yeah, so let's dive into the episode then. So, Mel, I know you kind of talked about your big background before in terms of competing, but do you want to just give a brief summary of your competing history to date, just so we have a background of kind of where you're at now and where you've come from?
Okay. So I started competing in 2020 in the bikini division. I've pretty much done not all of the federations, but all of your main ones that I think people know about. So like PCA, Two Bros, FitX, NFM, and I did an IFBB Pro qualifier this year as well. So I've done how many shows? 16 shows.
Oh my God.
I know,
that is insane.
So I did 6 shows this year, 6 shows the last year, and then the year before was 3. So 6 is, how like, I think the last time I was on the podcast, I said 6 was too many. Well, I've realised that 6 is kind of my thing.
Yeah, we've realised that's just doing a Mel, we like to call it. If you do 6 shows in your prep. I remember when I kind of got to know you first in 2021, and you were doing the 6 shows, and you're like, it's way too much. But I think you're probably a bit more strategic about it this time.
Yeah, I had way more, I'd say, off-plan meals, refeeds, which kind of like keeps you going in between. So I didn't flatten off really. But yeah, so that is, I don't really know what else to say about my history, to be fair.
Yeah, it's been like short but dense.
Yeah, I've like gone head first into everything.
Yeah. Mine is kind of the opposite. So I started competing in 2018, which makes me sound really old because I am. So my first show was Pure Elite in April of 2018. I then did a UKUP Body Power in May of 2018, and then I did PCA Norwich. Then I took the rest of the year off, even though I was meant to do finals, but I just couldn't make it through the summer. I just YOLO'd it, and then I was like, nah. So I took some time off until 2019, and then I did NBFI Ireland, which is our natural federation in Ireland, in September of 2019, and then I did Pure Elite Dublin. Then I did UK DFBA finals, and then I finished my season in WMBF, which is the world finals in New York that I had qualified for. And then in 2020, I was meant to take the whole year off anyway, but then the big C happened. So kind of forced me to take the time off anyway. I was meant to go back to stage in 2021, but I've probably talked about this many times on the podcast, but a lot of health issues, a lot of personal life stress, a lot of disruption to my life, which meant getting to the stage wasn't the best idea for me. And this is why I always preach that, like, if you feel the need to quit prep, it's not like a failure. It's not like you're quitting. You're probably doing the best thing for yourself. So instead, I turned it into a photo shoot diet. So I just did that in 2021. And then I finally returned to stage 3 years later, which I did not expect to do, with Joe as my coach. We did Two Bros, we did NFM, we did FitX, we did PCA finals, and we did, is there another one I did?
PCA, the qualifier.
And PCA qualifier, yes, exactly. So PCA Mercia. So that was really interesting when I came back to stage in 2022, because there were a lot of federations that actually weren't around the last time I competed, like NFM and FitX. I don't even think they were a thing when I first started competing. So it was good to kind of get that experience in newer federations that weren't kind of around when I first started competing or when I last started competing. So I'm the same as Mel. Like, I don't discriminate against federations, against shows, against, different categories and classes and things like that. I've done diva, I've done normal bikini, standard bikini, I've done fitness model federations, I've done, the Two Bros IFBB style, I've done PCA, I've done NFM, like FitX. Like, I don't really discriminate, and I think there's a lot of value both as a coach and an athlete into experimenting and trying new things. And this is probably like going to lead on to one of the first things that myself and Mel have discussed that kind of irks us in the industry, is people who have certain ideas of what's, like, quote unquote, a worthwhile federation versus one that's not. People that think, if you're not gunning for a pro card, and if you're not just going for Two Bros only or IFBB only shows, that you're not kind of a serious enough competitor. I'm sure Mel would agree with that is something that we don't preach. Yes. It's not something that we believe in, both for us as people, because we like to experiment, but also for clients. I think if you have that mentality, it sets a bad kind of mindset on them, that they feel like if they aren't necessarily competitive enough in a Two Bros yet, or if that's not their goal to get a pro card, they feel kind of a less than athlete, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think that, I don't know, like, it needs to be really, really serious. Whereas the reason there's all these federations that don't actually lead to a pro card, like, I feel like if you're going for your pro card, you should do all the federations first to actually have some fun with it. Because once you get to the pro leagues, it is a pro athlete sport, and it's kind of like, it's serious. Yeah. Why not have some fun? And not everybody is a coach that can actually do this. Some people are nurses. Some people have a 9-to-5 job, and they can't be in the gym 3 hours of the day to be a pro athlete. So what's wrong with just having fun? Or having it as like a bucket list thing? What's wrong with that? Nothing.
Yeah. And also, like you said, if your aspiration is one day to turn pro, once you get that pro card, you are given a contract that is heavily restrictive, that you cannot go to certain shows, you can't go to certain events, you have to always be representing the IFBB wherever you go, and you have to kind of act and behave in a certain way to align with that. So it becomes very restrictive. So if you do want to get everything else out of your system, you should probably do that first, not only to get all that experience of different federations and classes, but also to practice being on stage, being up in lineups, being in new kind of events and arenas and venues. Because even when you do turn pro, you're going to be in different countries, you're going to be in different locations, different venues, there's going to be different lighting, different stages. You're going to have to get used to that anyway. So I think it is good practice, as you said, and also to get it out of the way, because then you can go down that route. Like someone I just was literally talking to at the gym today, Sam Minshall, she did NFM and got her pro card with that before she turned IFBB pro, and no one looks any less at her just because she did that. We think, isn't that incredible that she did that in NFM and then she went on to win a pro card? Like, that is amazing. So I think it's admirable for her to have done that.
And I bet her stage confidence is so much better because of that. Can you imagine if you'd only done, like, I mean, I know not most people, it takes a few more goes than just their first pro qualifier. But if you went pro in your first year of competing, you're actually not very seasoned at all. Whereas if you've thrown yourself into like 4 or 5 shows, all different federations, you get to try different things. And actually, you might not suit the IFBB like criteria. but you could
Yeah.
be really well suited to PCA bikini.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. And like it teaches you to be adaptive and flexible to the environment or whatever you're thrown into, because as we know, show days are, they roughly have the same structure, but they can vary very differently compared to timings on stage, how many people are up against you, how much time you have on stage, how hard they work you, how long you're going to have to pose for, like when the awards are given out, that all changes. So to have the practice of having different show days with different timings is very helpful, because
yeah,
then no matter what goes on the day, you're used to it and you can just get along with it.
yeah, for sure.
For sure.
For sure. What is our next point?
So, I think expectations is a good one to move on to. So,
yeah,
for competitors, I know it's really, really easy to go onto Instagram and to see people who have, just started competing this year, and they've gone from doing a regional, getting first and maybe an overall, to then doing a pro qualifier, getting a
yeah.
first, then getting overall.
Fine.
I can't speak today. And then getting a pro card and literally going from being a first timer competitor to getting a pro card all in 1 year. Obviously, that is incredible. And I am in awe and in total admiration of anyone that does that, because what a feat to have achieved. But it is not something that 99% of us can do. It's just not, because you have to be not only a genetic anomaly, you have to have the work behind you, you have to have the muscle building genetics, you have to have the posing, the presentation, the stage presence, the luck, like a little bit of luck, as well, like good luck to have as well to get there. So for that to happen, it is kind of a one in a, not million, but 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 chance for that to happen. And it's realistically not going to be you by the law of averages. So if you are comparing your journey, or if you're expecting your journey to be like someone like that, you might need to give yourself a bit of a reality check and be a bit more realistic, because if you aim that high for that perfection and you don't get it, in your head, you're going to think that's a failure and you're going to feel that you let yourself down. When in reality, if you go into your first season and you even get a top 5, top 3 placing, that is probably better than 95% of the people that compete. And that's just realistic. So I think these days, when I started competing, I just don't think there was that expectation of, I do my first show and I'll win it. It just wasn't there, because you just flung yourself into a show. You didn't really know who else was competing. You didn't really know that many people on social media who competed. You just went for it. So I think the idea of going into a show and taking first place, and if you didn't get that first place, you're disappointed, is quite a new thing. And I just think it's harmful. I don't think it's helpful for most people to have that mentality.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody wants to win, like realistically, you go into your first show, you're going to be thinking, right, I would absolutely love to win. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having that mentality. But it shouldn't be that if you don't win, that is the worst thing in the world. Or if you don't place in your first show, like, it's so hard to get it right sometimes, like especially the bikini criteria. Like, it looks different on everybody. Like, what looks good on you looks different on me. Like, we're all different, even though we're all relatively similar at the same time. It's really weird. But go in thinking, right, okay, it would be amazing to get a top 5. But if you don't get that top 5, that doesn't mean that, you're not a good athlete. It just means you're not there yet. It might mean you need to do something. It's not a bad thing. And I actually think that it is more detrimental for you to go in and win everything your first time than it is, like, beneficial.
Yeah.
Because you don't learn anything. If you go in and you win your first show, then you win an overall, then you win your pro card in the first 6 months, you're going to think you're unstoppable and that you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas you want to have to think about where you can improve. And I listened to some podcast the other day, and they were talking about how, do you remember Angelica, the Olympia winner from, what was she, 2018? She was like a 2-time Olympia. She was 16th her first Olympia, and then before she won. I bet if she'd have gone like, oh, I must be rubbish, that's just, why didn't I win my first Olympia? She probably would have never gone back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, you just cannot take that as an omen into the future. And as you said, like, especially if you go into your first season and you turn pro and you feel like you're the cream at the top, as soon as you go into the pro league, you're literally at the bottom of the barrel again, and you have to start again from the bottom, climb your way back to the top. So it's not like you turn pro and all of a sudden you're an amazing pro. You have to be a small fish in a big pond all over again, and that takes work, and it can be quite a rude awakening for people who have never had to feel like that, and have never had to feel they've had to really, really work for something, or that they've had to fail many times. And as Mel said, like, you definitely learn so much from not succeeding the first time and trying again. And like, even as a cliche, there are so many CEOs that have failed and failed and failed and failed at their businesses, and it just took the 100th time for them to just make it and start making the money and being successful. Like, not everyone is an overnight success, and they all say like an overnight success takes 10 years. We just don't see the background of it. So that is, I think it's just an important message that please don't go into your first season, expecting to win everything, expecting to get a pro card, expecting to get overalls, because wow, if you did, how amazing would that be? Obviously, that is something that everyone would love. It's not like we're saying like, oh, you shouldn't have that as a goal, or you shouldn't want that, because we all want to win. None of us would say no to a pro card, even if a pro card is not your goal right now. It's not like someone will offer it to you and you'll say, nah, thanks, I'm actually grand. Of course you'll take it. But we do have to be realistic with our expectations. Obviously, set them high. Like, you want to set high goals that you want to work hard for to attain. You don't want to just be kind of have suboptimal goals that are easy to achieve, because they're not going to feel like an accomplishment. They're not going to be rewarding. But if you go into your first season and you take third place at your first show, like, please don't be upset about it. I just think it's crazy to take third at your first show and feel, oh God, you know, I wasn't good enough, or I didn't reach my goal, or it wasn't what I came for, or any of that kind of language.
Not what we thought.
Yeah. So one of our big icks, if you go into a show and you don't win and you say on Instagram that it's not what you came for, like, obviously no one goes to get fifth place or to get fourth place. Obviously everyone goes to win. But you have to be accepting that if you're in a lineup of 10, 15 girls and the judge picks someone else simply because they probably matched the criteria better that day, or they suited the class that they wanted to represent their federation, just accept it. You just weren't what they want. You weren't the class winner. That's just it. Like, it's not even that, oh, they weren't what they wanted because they had a different opinion. Like, you did not suit the criteria as much as someone else, and that's just it. But the thing is, if you worked on XYZ, if you got your feedback and worked on everything that they had given you via the feedback points, maybe you would be the next time. Like, it's not a clear cut, you're just not made for it if you don't get it. It's such a small mindset to be in, to think like that.
I think people also, like, some people they might go into their second season or their second show, and if they place differently in a different lineup, like maybe they got second in their first show and then they get third in their second show, they think that it's worse because they've got third, they've gone down a placing, where that doesn't actually matter because it's a totally different lineup. Like, the only way that would matter is if you were in exactly the same lineup, in exactly the same conditions, and everybody was exactly the same as they were the last time. It's like, don't go in thinking, right, okay, I got second last time, I need to win next time, otherwise I'm rubbish and I shouldn't do it, because there's just so many things that could happen that are out of your control. One being who turns up on the day. If you didn't win, then like you said, the winner, well, they were better than you. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you suck. It just means there's someone that's a little bit better than you. That's just, if anything, that's more motivation to be even better the next time you get on stage.
Yeah. And like, that's exactly what you said. Like, just because you came first in a certain federation and then you came back the next year and you came second, it doesn't mean that you have objectively gotten worse. It just means either the criteria has evolved slightly, or maybe your peak was slightly missed and, you know, your physique was still good, but you just weren't as dry or as hard looking as you were before. Or it could mean you literally just had a completely different lineup where every single girl was different. So there are so many different variables that you cannot compare like with like. It's never going to be a constant, perfectly controlled environment where you can compare this exact show to this exact show, because there's going to be so many changes. Like, your tan could have been off, your bikini could have been off, like you might have been a bit more nervous. It doesn't mean that your physique was categorically worse. It just means that there was someone on the day that fit the criteria a little bit better than you, and that's what they were awarded. And I think people lose sight of the fact that it isn't that deep. Like, I always say, like, when judges are looking at you, they don't know how hard you worked in the gym. They don't know how strict you were with your diet. They don't know that you've never cheated on your diet. They don't know how much you want this. All they see is a physique that is standing in front of them. You shouldn't take it personally because they don't know your personality. They don't know your character. They don't know your identity. They don't know your discipline, your ambition, your drive, nothing. So you can't let their placing of you affect that, because they literally don't know what's going on except for what they can see in front of them on that solid day, in that 5 minutes even. They hadn't seen you an hour ago, they saw you right this second. So to judge yourself and to value yourself based on a snapshot in time across 5 minutes of a day is just crazy to me. You know, it shouldn't affect you like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's another thing is when people say the judges favoured a different look,
Yeah.
or it was dodgy judging. I
Yeah.
just think it's really, sometimes people don't realise how they're coming across to the other people in the lineup as well. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine if you won a show and then you saw second or third place being like, oh, judging was dodgy, I
Yeah.
wasn't good enough, then you would feel as the winner like maybe you weren't good enough.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
having good sportsmanship as well. Like, have
Yeah.
your realistic expectations, but also think about the girls around you, which, you know, you don't want to be that salty girl, the salty
Yeah.
diva.
Yeah, like if you came second and then you go on Instagram and say, oh, the judging was dodgy that day, or the judges went for something different than usual, you're taking that first place away from the winner. You're making them feel that, you know, it wasn't a true first place, they didn't deserve it, and they weren't really the best on the day, which is just isn't fair. Because the thing is, that's their time. Your time might come next week, next month, next year. Just let them have it and say, look, this is just the way it is. They went for this person because they thought they met the criteria the best, and that wasn't me, and that's fine. I'm going to try again, because the beauty of competing is that there are so many fucking shows on all the time, and every year it gets more and more and more. There's literally a show on every weekend, and if you're not the flavor of the week, you might be next week. And that is the thing about regionals, is that once you get to the next regional the next week, no one gives a crap about the previous week. Like, literally, it's forgotten about. Even if someone got an overall or a win or whatever, it becomes old news very, very quickly. So even if you didn't get the placing you want, by next week there's a new show and everyone's forgotten about it.
It's chip paper, is that what it's called?
Yeah, yesterday's what is it? Yesterday's newspaper, today's chip paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an English thing. We don't do that in Ireland with the newspaper and the chips.
I don't
No.
actually think they do it here anymore. It must be an old thing.
Yeah, I think I remember years ago when I used to visit my granny or my grandma here, but yeah, I don't. I can't say I've. Oh, this is another thing, because you say chippy and I say chipper.
Chipper.
Yeah.
The chipper is like, I feel like it's a carpenter.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know many carpenters, but we used to call them
Chipping.
chipper chips. I can't say I've had chipper chips in years. I cannot remember the last time I've had
No,
chipper chips.
you know what? They smell better than they taste. They don't taste good.
But you know what? They only taste good if they're like so saturated with vinegar, they are like drowning, and it's like a pool of vinegar, and then the chips, and then I'll just eat them like they're little fish in a pond. That's how I want to eat them.
Sounds like a lot of vinegar.
I do love vinegar. Especially in Morrison's now, you can get proper like chip shop vinegar that I
Can
buy.
you?
Yeah, so you put it on your air fryer chips.
If I want a takeaway, it's not a chip shop. I just feel
No,
like that's boring.
I don't really get takeaways though, because we're similar to me. We like the whole meal experience of going out and
Yeah.
dining and stuff like that. So I don't really get takeaways.
Yeah, I just think it's a bit, no. Unless
I
it's
just
like
think
those, even
if
then.
I'm gonna get if I'm gonna get a takeaway, by the time I order it and wait for it, I'm like, I might as well just make my own thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
I'm over it by the time it comes. So,
yeah,
not interested.
no.
I'm
So
kind of
what's
done
your
I think
yeah,
back to Dubai.
I know. Mel just loses her food focus as soon as she eats anything.
Yeah.
Any
Unless it's
food at
a
all.
acai bowl, I'm not interested.
Yeah, they were good acai bowls, to be fair.
Well, I can say that pistachio chocolate is very good. So I got some is it dark chocolate? I think it's normal chocolate. It's got pistachio and it's really good.
Mm.
I'm having it on my oats the last couple of days.
I tried one of my dates on my cream of rice today. So it's like a date, but inside is like an almond, and on the outside is dark chocolate. So I chopped it up and put it all over my cream of rice. It was nice to have the texture. Because Joe always has dates on his cream of rice in his off season. I was like, oh, I wonder what that would be like, and it was actually all right.
Yeah, so I've been eating one, like, I'll just eat it. I haven't put it on anything yet.
Yeah, you should try chopping it up and putting it on
Yeah,
something.
I'll have to try that. That sounds good. I love a date. I just wish they were lower calorie.
I know, that's the shame. They're definitely bulking food. They're not for prepping at all.
Yeah, so if you struggle getting your calories in, get some dates. They're like massive
Yeah.
raisins.
Yeah, huge and very dense and full of carbohydrates.
Yes, very good.
So what's another ick that you have on your list?
Okay, right, let's have a look. In the sea of icks. The ones that moan constantly about being on prep.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, don't get me wrong, there's people that have bad days. I'm sure both me and you have had a really bad day where it's been like, this is solid. But it's the ones that are like, they're like, oh, I'm really grafting today. What's one of the other sayings? I'm in the trenches.
In the trenches. Yeah.
I just can't, like, I think those are the people, this probably leads on to one of my other icks, is the ones that only do the competing side of things for the glitz and glamour. They don't actually enjoy the process. They don't enjoy training. So they're the ones that moan because they're very much looking forward to putting the bikini on, getting all glam, and not thinking about, they're the ones that are thinking about what meal they're eating. They're thinking about the food after. They're not thinking about, I don't know, being a good athlete. And I think it gives the sport a bit of a bad rep because people just moan and they say how difficult it is and how bodybuilding's ruined them when actually you probably weren't a very good candidate for bodybuilding.
Yeah. I think that is such a good point because people see competing and they think it's all about sparkly bikinis and it's all about posing heels and it's all about like the glamour of show day, and they get enticed by this view of this like picture perfect day where you look stunning and you look incredible, but you don't see the behind the scenes of 16 to 18 weeks plus of all the hard work, like the hours of cardio, the very low calories, hardly any carbs, really high steps, like literally it taking over your whole life. Most of the days you can't even be arsed to wash your hair, let alone brush your hair, let alone actually put on decent clothes. Like most of the time you just look like an absolute mess. So to go into competing thinking it's going to look glamorous, you're just going to get a rude awakening because 99% of the time it is not. Yes, on show day it's amazing and we love it. We love getting glammed up, getting our hair done, our makeup done, our nails done, our bikini, our tan, like everything is on point for that one day. But even in the peak week leading up to it, it's anything but, because even though you're like reducing fatigue during peak week, you still feel crap because you're so lean. It's not healthy to be that lean, especially for a female, and you're not going to have the energy levels that you would normally have because you don't have the energy available to you in the terms of calories and food. So yeah, and like you said, like if people go into it competing for the glamour of show day, it's going to be a struggle for them with the prep. It's not going to be easy. They're going to be resisting it a lot of the time. Every time their coach drops their food or ups their cardio or increases their steps, they're going to be fighting it instead of kind of taking on the challenge. And I think the mindset we both have is that when we're in prep, we kind of want it to be hard in a weird way. Like you kind of get this weird rewarding feeling and satisfactory feeling when you're going through some time where you have like less than 1,000 calories or you have 20,000 steps or you have an hour of cardio to do. You take it on as a bit of a challenge, and then it's really rewarding when it pays off and you see yourself getting leaner, or you see your six pack coming through, or the definition coming through your legs or your delts or your glutes. And that is kind of the reward you get for working that hard. But if you don't have that mentality, then it's going to be very, very difficult to trudge through something that's going to be so difficult and so tough when your body is going to be fighting you every step of the way at the end. That is going to be very difficult, and you have to think to yourself, like, is it worth it?
Yeah, I think that's what people don't realise is how hard it has to be. Don't get me wrong, we want it to be as easy as it possibly can be, but ultimately to get into condition, you doesn't matter if your calories are 2,000 or 800, you're going to feel crap.
Yeah.
Because it's not about how much food you're on, it's how little body fat you have, isn't it? So
yeah,
you're going to have to, like, when people say to me, like, I've had girls come to me and they're like, I really want to compete. I've watched you do it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but why? Like, do you know how hard it's going to be? Like you said, it takes over your life. Like, for those however many weeks you're in prep, that has to be your 100% focus. You can't think, oh, I'm going to have like a biscuit, or I don't know, I'm going to skip my steps today or skip my cardio. You have to want it. And I think some people, like I said, they just want the bikini. They want the show day, which is 5 minutes. 5 minutes of that, like 20 weeks or whatever it is. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. Because even like with show day, most of it's just hanging around and waiting. Like, you
I
really are
hate
only on stage for like 20 minutes. Yeah. And you cannot have a day on prep where you're like, I'm just going to take a day off today, or I'm just not going to follow my food today. I'm not going to check in. I'm not going to do my steps. I'm just going to eat a little bit more. Like, that's just not acceptable. And it is an all or nothing thing. And that's the way it is. Whereas like we both have lifestyle clients where that is not our approach at all. Like, if you're going for either a holiday or a wedding or an event or even a photo shoot, it's not going to be the same level of rigidity and strictness, because it's not necessary and it's not healthy for most of the time. Like, when you go into a prep, you have to accept that what you're doing is probably the opposite of what you should be doing for optimal health. And you just have to, that's part and parcel of the process that you're going to go through. Whereas if you're a normal person who just wants to drop a bit of weight and look good on their holiday, you will not need to go to those extremes, and you shouldn't go to those extremes because it's not necessary, it's not healthy mentally or physically for you to do. But if you decide to embark on a prep, number one, if it's for the right reasons, that you do it because you want to challenge yourself, you love the process, you want to see what it's like when things get hard, and you want to see if you can persevere and the resilience you develop as a result of that. And to me, I think a lot of the skills that I learned through dieting so aggressively and so extremely have translated into other areas of my life where I've needed to have that drive and that determination and that perseverance. When things get tough, I need to push through them. That has really helped me in other walks of life as well. But if you don't think you'll get satisfaction from that element of it, and the grind and the hustle and all those words we like to use, then it's not for you. Like, I would say, do a photo shoot prep where you don't need to get as lean. Go on holiday and get in shape for your holiday. Have a go, like an event, maybe Christmas, New Year's, things like that. They are great goals to aim for, because it's not an all or nothing black and white thing. There's much more grey in the middle there. But for shows, for prep, for all that kind of stuff, it just is what it is. You get given your targets and you do it, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much you want to cry, no matter how much you'd rather stay in bed. Tough shit. You have to get up. You have to do it,
I love a calorie drop.
Yeah, because it means you're going to see more shreds. When you get your calories dropped, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to start seeing changes now more rapidly.
I feel rubbish. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to look so good tomorrow.
Yeah. And you get to the point when you've been competing for so long that you can feel a new low the day before. You know that night, I'm going to have a new low the next day, because you just feel so empty inside. It's almost like a hollow feeling that you're like, 100% I'm going to have a new low. And you're always right.
Oh my God, I miss that feeling already.
Yeah, we love the dieting, but like, it's right. Like, this is a good example for myself and Mel. Like, Mel, unfortunately, has to diet on extremely low calories to drop body fat, but I don't necessarily have to drop as low as her. Main reason being a bit taller, to be honest. But it doesn't mean that it's any easier for me. It means that, relatively speaking, we're both in the same deficit. If myself and Mel were trying to lose a pound in a week, we would create the exact same deficit for both of us, even though she might be on 800 calories and I'm on 1500 calories. Regardless, it still feels just as shit. There is no difference, because it's not to do with the amount of food you're eating. It's to do with the scale of a deficit you're in and the current level of body fat you have on. So if we had the same level of body fat, we were trying to lose the same amount of weight, it would feel just as horrendous for both of us. So even if you're looking at someone on Instagram, because this is another ick, I've seen it before, someone saying, oh, I'm dieting on 3,000 calories and I'm doing no cardio. Like, you might be jealous of them, but I promise you, if they do manage to get as lean as they want to, which often they don't, so keep that in mind, they're still going to feel horrendous. It's not any better for them. They're still going to be food focused. They're still going to be hungry. They're still going to feel like shit. They're still going to have poor recovery, because they're still in that deficit and they're still getting that level of body fat, if they are. There are people who say, I'm on 3,000 calories a day, and they never get lean enough. So what's the point in dieting at all for stage if you're not going to get in the correct condition?
Or they're lying.
Or they're lying. That is another thing.
Or they're telling you their calories when they're on a refeed, when actually
Yeah.
they're on like 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
I think this is another thing. People don't, the ones that are moaning, they don't realize how hard it's going to be. Because in reality, most people have to go low.
Yeah.
So it's all perspective, isn't it? In
Yeah.
relative to what they do. Most people have to really if you're getting into proper condition, so it's got to be really difficult.
Mhm.
And if someone says they're on 3,000 calories, I don't believe it.
Yeah. And bear in mind, this is the example I always use. Chris Bumstead, who is classic Mr. Olympia, he diets on like 1,200 calories. So if
How
someone
many
who, oh God, 200 and something pounds, a lot more than you as a bikini girl. Anyway,
Yeah.
so if you're a bikini girl and you're complaining because you're on 1,200 calories, 1,100 calories, 1,000 calories, Mr. Classic Olympia, who is probably weighs two of you, is on the same amount of calories. So it's just life. Like, you are given the hand you are dealt with life. You're given your genetics. You cannot change them. You cannot change your parents. You cannot change your metabolism. That is just the way it is. And you just have to get on with it, because no amount of complaining or moaning is going to change how much you can eat. It just isn't. So
Yeah.
that is just the hard truth. And another thing to go alongside that is, like, if you do really struggle with your hunger and your low food, like, can we please stop demonizing using diet hacks? Like,
Oh my gosh.
I just don't get it. Like, people say you're not hardcore unless you use no diet hacks, you suck up the hunger, you should be hungry, it's that mentality to be in, that you shouldn't be trying to cheat the system. I just say it's 2023. We have great inventions and great innovation and great technology. Why would we not make the most of it? I just don't get it. Why do you want to live like a caveman when
Yes.
we don't have to? Like, you use electricity. Does that mean you shouldn't use lights because it makes life easier and you should be working in the dark under a candle? Like, I just don't understand. Why are you using your phone when you could be, like, I don't know, sending a telegram to someone or sending a carrier pigeon to someone? Like, I just don't understand why you would not use technology just because you want to look more hardcore. Like, no.
You're stupid. Like, you're making it harder for yourself for what? I love having my little caramel drops in my low-calorie hot chocolate or my coffee, and I'm okay. I have to get to stupid levels when it comes to calories, but I'll still have my sweetener in, unless it's peak week, because I can't have it in peak
And
week.
even me, I use sweetener on show day, so that's another thing.
Yes.
Mel takes it out on peak week. I do not. I use it on show day. I have my coffee and I have my
I have a
sweetener.
pain stomach, and it hates me.
But that just shows, like, there's no hard cut rules for everyone. You can't just say you can't use diet hacks, you can't use sweetener, you must do this, you must do that, because everyone is different. Like, my digestion doesn't get upset by that stuff, so why would I take it out? Whereas Mel's a little bit more sensitive, so she does just in case, just to cover her bases. So
I think people are just they want to feel like they're better than you if they don't use a sweetener.
Yeah.
Or a skin sauce.
Yeah. I see people kind of demonizing things like protein puddings a lot, saying like, oh, you should just eat whole foods and single ingredient foods. And yes, of course, if we existed in a vacuum where nothing interacted with us at all, you would eat single ingredient, whole, nutritionally dense foods that were just, you didn't care about the flavor, you just ate them for nutritional benefit and optimal health. Yes, but that's not real life. We have taste buds, we have preferences, we get cravings, we see things on the TV, we see things in shops, we have impulsive buys, we feel like we want to have these things. And if we completely cut out every single bit of food that we enjoy and eat purely for health and function, number one, it's not realistic. It's just not going to happen. And number two, I promise you, your binge is going to be so bad that you will just not know what to do with yourself. Like, if you swing the pendulum one way and you go super, super restrictive, it's going to swing all the way back again, and you're going to go overboard, and you'll probably gain more weight than you even started on, because that binge restrict cycle is just so dangerous and so nasty to be on. So there is nothing wrong with having a protein pudding. I'm not saying that maybe it'll be a bit more nutritionally benefit if you had Greek yogurt. Yeah, maybe. But does it taste as nice? No. And if that protein if that protein pudding is going to stop you from eating like a real pudding, surely that's better than having the real pudding when you're on a diet. I just think there's so many gradients of, what level you're at and what is acceptable, that you cannot just say something is bad or something is wrong or something should be off limits or you should go for this, because you can't talk in absolutes, because there's such a massive gradient of effect and spectrum of where people are at in their life. If there's a woman who literally cannot stop eating chocolate and crisps and biscuits and desserts all the time, and you say to her, look, instead of this dessert, have this protein pudding, that is definitely better for her. But if you're a bikini girl and that protein pudding sets off your cravings and it makes you want to overeat on other things, maybe that's not for you. It just completely depends on the person.
People are different. Everyone is
People
different.
are different and people have their own needs. And I think that is what I don't understand with coaches who come on to their story and talk categorically about something being bad or something being wrong, is it kind of gives me a red flag that they treat
Yeah.
all their clients the same and paint them all with the same brush. And to me, everything should always be individualistic, which is why I'll never come on to my story and say this food is bad or this food is good, because it's going to completely depend on who's watching me, who the follower is, who the client is, what their needs are, what makes them feel restricted, what makes them want to crave other things and binge and overeat. And you mold the plan to suit them, which is why I don't like when I see coaches like categorically stating this is wrong, this is bad, because it just shows that they're kind of treating their clients just like they are and just like them, and not kind of tailoring the process to each individual.
Yeah, I agree. It should be. You know, another thing, these people that are talking about, oh, you shouldn't have the skinny sauces, the sweetener, they're the ones that are having like Monsters pre-workout. What's the difference?
But they're also the ones that go silent after prep, because you're like, what the hell are you doing now? They get themselves, they're so rigid in their day-to-day life on prep, they give themselves a little bit of freedom and they take it to the next level. And they just go full balls to the wall crazy. Whereas if you are in prep, myself, Mel and Jasmine are all big advocates of adapting your prep to suit you. And we've been in the industry for a good amount of time, especially Jasmine. She's been in it even longer than me. So it has helped with our sustainability and longevity in the sport. But if you can adapt your prep to suit you, have things that aren't going to set off your cravings, that are going to make you feel satiated. Like if you have a piece of chocolate and it really quells your cravings, absolutely have it. But if you have a piece of chocolate and it makes you feel, oh my God, I want to eat the whole kitchen now, maybe there's a bit better option for you. It's just finding what works for you. Like for me, I don't like sticking to meal plans. But that being said, I get given a macro target for the day and I stick to pretty much the same meal structure every single day, with little substitutions here and there if I want them. But relatively speaking, I basically do follow a meal plan because my meal structure is pretty much the same. And I think Mel's is the same.
Yeah.
But if we go out for a coffee and I want to have an almond milk latte, I will swap that in, no problem, especially in my off season. So it just depends on the day. And if we're out at shows, we might swap in a Subway salad because it's more easy for us and we enjoy them. But if I went to a show and I like didn't prep a meal, or my Apple Watch, if I went to a meal, or if I went to a show and I hadn't prepped a meal, or I forgot a meal at home, like I won't have a freak out about it because I know I can go to Tesco and put a meal together pretty easily. Whereas if I was on a meal plan, I'd literally probably have a conniption and a breakdown and either cry and go home and miss the day, or I'd say fuck this and I'd binge and overeat and go mad. So there's something to be said with living in the middle and being adaptive and flexible so that you can just get on with your day and make the most of it.
You're not going to bodybuild and compete forever. You might bodybuild forever, but you won't compete forever.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't really, unless you're, I don't know, you want to do masters when you're like 60.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to live like a normal person. Like normal, quote unquote, whatever. Which is why I think like me and you, and like you said, Jazz, like we're really good at like not worrying about the small stuff. When you're in prep, you need to stick to it. Like you need to be rigid. But when you're not in prep, that's the time to not be as rigid and to just be who you were before you competed. Really.
Yeah.
And that's not worry.
One reason why I, with my clients, a lot of the time, like I personally don't believe that any off-plan meal should be a complete all-out no holds barred binge fest. I don't think you should ever stuff your face. I just don't think there is any reason for that. Every time, like for all my clients in the off season, I do encourage them to eat, go out to eat, have an off plan meal, take some time away from tracking. That's absolutely fine. But I will never endorse them or condone them to go and just absolutely engorge food until they're sick to their stomach, because this is such a disordered thing that bodybuilders do. They literally have this off plan meal in their head. They plan it, they research it, they think about it all week long, and then they just go all guns blazing into it. They stuff their face, they get as much into themselves as possible, because psychologically they think, if I don't eat this right now, I'm not going to be able to eat it for another week because I'm going to be so strict on my diet and so obsessed with being perfect. So I'm just going to get it all in now. And they eat themselves to sickness. And I've heard of people like throwing up after they eat a cheat meal, or just having like awful stomach problems, really upset stomach, not being able to go to the toilet for days, like really backing themselves up and just ruining themselves for days after it. Whereas if you learn, okay, not only can I eat what I want to eat during the week, that's fine, I can incorporate it in. But when I go out to eat an off-plan meal, I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to take an informed approach. I'm going to listen to my hunger cues and my fullness cues. I'm not going to eat past fullness, because that is not comfortable. Like the one time that everyone overeats on purpose is probably Christmas, and everyone remembers every Christmas evening. You feel absolutely horrendous. Why would you want to do that to yourself every single week? It's just not a pleasant feeling. So I just don't think there is any reason to go overboard and completely indulge in crazy amounts of high calorie foods every week, because not only is this going to mess up what your energy balance is, like your coach is not going to know whether you're in a surplus, whether you're in a deficit, what calories you should be on, but it also makes you feel horrendous, and it's just not a healthy mindset to be in.
Yeah, though, if you go through that mindset of binging each weekend, you're not going to last very long.
No.
Doing this at all. And then people will blame, another ick of mine is people blaming the sport as to why they have issues.
Yes,
Whereas,
yes.
no, I think you had those issues before you got into it, and now you have a reason, something to say why.
Yeah. People placing blame on the industry for either their, falling out of love with training, or developing disordered eating, or, hating the sport, or like having bad body image, low confidence, all that stuff. Now, realistically, the sport didn't cause that, because how many people do you see in the sport that are okay, they're fine, they enjoy it, they love it, it helps some people get out of those things. But if you have these underlying issues and you behave in manners that exacerbate these issues, you cannot blame the sport itself, because you went in with these underlying issues to begin with. And I just think it's not fair to tarnish the whole sport with one brush, saying competing's unhealthy, competing's bad for you, competing is too extreme, blah, 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 because they're acting as if bodybuilding is the only extreme sport in the world. Like, look at all these mad sports that people have to get, like, powerlifting, where people have to make crazy weights by dropping loads of weight, doing saunas, and by cutting water, cutting food, all that kind of stuff. All the athletic lifting, all of the Olympic sports, like everything is extreme. Sprinting is extreme. Marathon running is extreme. Every single sport at its highest level is extreme. So you cannot just single out bodybuilding and say that's unhealthy because it's extreme, because all sports are. That's the nature of the human race. Like, we want to be better. We want to get more world records. We want to be faster than last time, bigger than last time, stronger than last time. That is the nature of our psyche. So to bash bodybuilding because it's extreme, I just think is crazy. Like, if you don't want to be an extreme sport, don't do it. Go to the gym, train, enjoy it. But the rest of us clearly enjoy it and get a lot of pleasure and reward from it. So there's no point in demonizing it when there are so many people that get value from it. And for me personally, like, I did not know how to eat until I started bodybuilding. I didn't know what was good for me, what was bad for me. I didn't know I knew what a calorie was, but I thought they were all bad. I thought calories were bad, fat was bad, carbs were bad. And it wasn't until I started bodybuilding that I realized the value of food and how it can nurture me and support me and fuel me, that I've seen it in a positive way. And that was a big benefit that I got from bodybuilding, because before that I didn't even know. I just thought I shouldn't eat salt, I shouldn't eat artificial sweeteners, I shouldn't eat fat and carbs, and it was all very blanket like that. And I was confused because I didn't know, why wasn't I losing weight? Why did I have body fat I wanted to lose? I just didn't get it. Whereas now I have a firm control over my energy balance. I know what foods fuel me well. I know what foods don't necessarily fuel me as well, but I like them, and I know how to incorporate them in. I know how to eat chocolate if I want, or have dessert if I want, or go out to eat if I want, and value those foods for the social aspect I get from them or the mindset pleasure I get from them or anything like that. I know how to balance that all now, and I would not have that if it weren't for me getting into bodybuilding and discovering competing.
Imagine you might not have had Hungry Hollies.
I know, I wouldn't have my lovely food page because I
Yeah.
would have been so terrified to eat. Like, I've told the story before, but like, I have so many memories of sitting down at dinner in a restaurant with my family and throwing a huge tantrum, crying, looking at the menu, having no idea what I want to eat because I just didn't know what I should eat, what was good for me, what was going to help me lose weight. I don't know. So I'd end up in absolute tears, like dripping down onto the menu because I wouldn't know what to eat. And I'd ruin my parents' time, I'd ruin my brother's time, I'd ruin the whole family night out because I just didn't know what to eat. And like, you know, I just think that's mad looking at it now because I'm the first to suggest going to a restaurant, eating at nice food, picking the most crazy thing on the menu. Like, I'm always fine with it. And it's just such a different reality now. And I'm so grateful for that because I've discovered a passion for food that I didn't know before because I used to think food was the enemy and food was going to make me fat. And that's all it was.
Yeah. I don't think I went for food really at all before competing. Maybe I went out a little bit, but it was things like Pizza Express. How boring.
Yeah. I used to go to Pizza Express a lot as well. Oh
And get
yeah, just
500 calorie pizzas.
yeah, the leggera with the salad on the
Yeah.
in the inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this.
Yeah. I'll pretend this is as good as the real thing. Yeah.
Oh God.
I used to do Weight Watchers, and I would be so strict with counting the points that the only time I let myself eat my mum's home cooked meal is the evening I went to weigh in, because when I came back I was like, okay, I use this as my like off evening, and that was the only time I'd eat a meal that my mum cooked for me, which is mad. So she would make me, I used to eat, my favorite meal that she made was these Indian meatballs which had rice and like a lovely sauce, and you have like mango chutney on them. They're delicious. But I wouldn't let myself, I was 16 at the time, and the only time I'd eat a mum's home cooked meal was that. Other time I would eat like the Weight Watchers frozen meals or the Weight Watchers chilled meals because I knew exactly how many points were in them and I could track them okay. And other than that, I wouldn't eat any home cooked food. Bearing in mind my family run a food business and my dad is literally a self-taught chef, and I wouldn't eat their food because I just was too afraid, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's sad. I think, like you said, bodybuilding can save a lot of people, and then people use it as an excuse, and it's just, don't do it then. It's fine.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it. I really like that about competing, is that not everyone can do it. And I think that's why I like it so much.
It wouldn't be as like rewarding if everyone did it. If everyone embarked on a prep and could get shredded easily with no effort and no one backed out of it, you'd be like, well, what's the reward? What's the fun?
Yeah.
You want to do things that other people can't do or don't want to do because it's a challenge for you. And no one says it's easy. No one ever says that prepping is healthy or good for you or, you know, positively beneficial to your your mindset, whatever. We know it's difficult and we know we're taking on risk there. But bear in mind that we have that already into consideration. So for us to go on social media and have people bashing bodybuilding, saying, oh, it's ruining you and it's so bad for everyone and no one should do it and it's disordered, like, that's a reflection on them and what they got out of it. It's not an objective perspective of what competing is, because competing brings so much joy. It brings friendships. Like myself and Mel would never have met if it weren't for competing. Myself and Jasmine, myself and Jen, like the podcast I run, the people I meet, the events I go to, all of this stuff, my whole life, the Physique Collective, none of this would be possible if I didn't step into that gym one day and say, you know what, I think I'll try a hand at this. And to me, that has changed my whole life. So I think you have to see the bigger picture and say, okay, yes, it doesn't suit everyone, but it suits some people. And that's fine, because those people it doesn't suit, something else will suit them. They can try CrossFit, they can try powerlifting, they can try high rocks, they can try running. Like, I don't care what they do as long as they're happy and as long as they don't bash me for doing what I love or what you love.
Yeah. So please stop saying that we shouldn't have our little sweetener that pops with us everywhere we go.
If you see my barista shots when I'm out and about, mind your business, please. Mind your damn business, because I'm doing me, you do you. If you want to eat boring, bland, tasteless chicken and rice and broccoli with no seasoning and no sugar-free ketchup, that's on you. I hope you enjoy it, but I'm going to squeeze the sugar-free ketchup on it. I'm going to put the seasoning on, and then I'm going to have a coffee with my sugar-free caramel because I like it. And you know what? I'll probably still get and I'm going to get shredded anyway because I do. You know, that's just the thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
So that is that.
what's my net? I had another ick, and it was people lying. Yeah, people lying about people lying about calories, lying about how much cardio they're doing, and lying about whether they are natural or not.
Yes.
Uh,
So to touch on the cardio one first, I think this is an interesting one that I always see that people say they're doing no cardio, but these people are doing like 25,000 steps
oh
and they
yeah,
say that they're not doing cardio and you're like, that's because your expenditure is so mad. You must literally be walking all day, every day, you know?
doing no cardio but got a weighted vest on with their steps.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd have to just literally walk every second of the day, but no cardio, so it's fine.
Yeah. And that, like I said earlier, they're lying about the calories, saying they want to. It's the ones that make you feel like you're wrong because you're
Yeah.
having to push it harder. I've had that a lot because this prep just gone, I had to do 700 calories.
Mm.
And people were like, what, really? Like, are you sure? And it's like,
Are you sure?
yes, I'm
Yes, like
sure.
I can count, thank you.
I can see that I was on 1,000 and I wasn't losing weight. So yeah, I have to do
Yeah.
700. And they make you feel bad, like there's something wrong with you. Like, okay, some people can get really lean really quickly and not have to push it that hard. Some people have to push it a little bit harder. We're all going to feel
Yeah.
just as crap, like you said earlier, but there's nothing wrong with you and
No.
equally, there's nothing wrong with you if you're getting shredded on 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
You get to
Mm.
have more meals or bigger meals. That's fine.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
you're still going to be starving, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's all relative. So, yeah, I just think there should be no comparison. I just think it's so pointless if me say, "Oh, Mel, what food are you on? What cardio are you on? What steps are you on?" Because it's not like I can copy you. If I copy anyone else's plan, I will not get their results. That's just it. Because we're
yeah,
all unique individuals with our own expenditure, our own metabolisms, our own adaptive nature to things. Some people adapt quicker to the food they're on. Some people don't. Like, it completely depends. There's no point in asking anyone what their plan is. You know, you can do out of interest because it is interesting to know, but don't take anything from it because it's going to mean nothing transferred
yeah.
onto you.
And the same with people comparing like peaks.
Yeah.
What cardio they do, their training, everyone is different.
Yeah.
So,
And this is
same
why we
way.
all have coaches that assign
Yeah,
things that are based just on us as unique people. And there's no point in copying anyone else's training plan or nutrition plan or any other protocol because just because it gets them results doesn't mean you'll get the same results. And you probably won't because that's just us as humans. We are all different and we have individual needs.
yeah, yeah. People. I don't know if I've got any. I think we might have covered them all. Let me have a
Yeah, I
look.
think we've covered a good amount. We've gone through all of the icks, but I'm sure the people listening
Oh,
will
I've got
probably have
one
their
more.
own icks. Oh,
I've
go
got a good
on,
one.
go on. The grand
Oh,
finale.
getting on stage that are not lean enough. And I'm not talking, because I've been on stage before and I've needed to get leaner, but it's been like a little bit leaner. I'm talking about people that are not anywhere close to the criteria of how lean
Mm-hmm.
you need to be, specifically wellness.
Yeah.
Wellness at the moment, people just think that you have to have bigger legs. And a lot of the time, us bikini girls, when we're in our off season, because we're female, a lot of the time your body fat is held on your lower body. So you see girls getting on stage that are probably more suited to bikini if they were lean enough, but they're
Mm-hmm.
putting themselves in wellness or maybe just not getting on stage at all. And I think it's kind of like you going to maybe the Olympics as a sprinter and not being very fast,
Yeah.
like being way, way slower than the
Mm-hmm.
average.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a bit, what's the words? Disrespectful.
Yeah. I just think it's difficult because obviously when you're a competitor and you're prepping, like it is past a certain point hard to see yourself objectively, and you do
Yeah.
start not being able to see it. But number one, your coach should be aware. Like if you've hired a coach to get you in good condition for wellness, and they don't know what the wellness condition criteria is, sack them off. Like please sack them off because
I think
they
a lot
should
of
be
the
able
time
to see.
I think it's the
Sorry.
coach's fault more than anything.
Yeah, because
Because if
because
people get
as
a plan, how do they
yeah,
know?
and when you're a client as well, you just like past a certain body weight or a body fat percentage, you just cannot see yourself. You just don't know what you look like. So you just trust
Yeah.
your coach. So if the coach gets you on stage and you're not in the correct condition, like you need to rethink whether it's working, because they should be able to get you in the exact criteria that you need. And that is why you've hired them. That's why you paid them. Go to someone that knows what the criteria means, what the federation looks for, what they favor, you know, what they expect from a competitor. That is really important, because if you're just getting on stage and you're nowhere near conditioned, even if you have the best amount of muscle on stage and you have the best shape underneath all the body fat, the judges are by default, they're going to say, is she in condition? No, the rest of it doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
need to, that's a prerequisite to be judged, is to be in the correct condition. If you're not in the correct condition, they're not going to judge you appropriately for the criteria. And then it's such a waste to have that amazing shape, to have all that muscle, to have worked that hard on your posing and your presentation and your overall stage presence. It means nothing if you're not in the correct condition. So that is just the prerequisite before you go into it. So there's no point, unless you're being strategic and you're like, hey, I'm just going to do this show just so I can do a pro qualifier, and I know I'm not quite lean enough yet, whatever. But if you're literally getting on stage 12 weeks out condition wise, like what is the point? Like I just don't see the reason for that.
Yeah, that's what I don't, like I said, I don't think it's the ones that are just a little bit, they need that little bit to go. It's the ones that are totally, like you said, 12 weeks. 12 weeks out. And that is the coach's fault. Because if it was my client and they looked nowhere near lean, I'd be like, we can't do this show.
Yeah.
Because it's heartbreaking for the client to get on set. Could you imagine being that girl who is like 12 weeks out and you see all these physiques and they are way leaner than you are, and you're just because you'll see it in the photos.
Yeah,
you might
definitely.
Not see it on the day, but you'll see it in the photos. You'll be like, yeah, I'm not lean enough.
Yeah, it's just very disheartening, and you feel like you put the work in, and you've put your trust in someone that you think had your best interest at heart, but then you just see like they didn't really care, because they didn't even bother to get you in the correct condition. And even if they didn't bother to get you in the correct condition, they weren't even honest with you, saying, look, you're not ready yet, which is a hard conversation to have, but you need to have it, because I don't want to put anyone on stage unless they are ready and they're in the correct condition, so that they feel good up there and they stand up there with everyone else and they don't stand out for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and the judges don't care how much you lost. So even if you lost 20 kilo and you've still got another 10 kilos to go, it's not a transformation. Obviously, there is some federations that have a transformation category, but if we're talking about the more like the PCA, the NFM, the two pros, you want to be in the right condition.
Yeah.
For you,
and that is why we're big advocates of not getting too heavy in the off season, because it just makes your prep so hard and long and arduous, and you probably won't get lean enough realistically. It's I see it all the time, people who do these big massive push-ups, and not only do they have to do 20-week plus preps, they never get conditioned enough, and it's just very, very hard once you put all that body weight on. So, you know, once you've got in the correct condition, like please just don't fall victim to the idea that you gaining muscle just means pushing up body weight and pushing up calories, because that might be the case for a bodybuilder. For bikini, it's all about bikini sculpting, as like Adam Bonilla says, refinement, developing muscle and shaping the muscle, sculpting the muscle slowly and surely. It is not about packing on dense, large amounts of tissue. And that's why we don't need those big, massive off seasons for the most part. We don't need to push up body weight by 20 kilos. I just don't think that's necessary, because bikini is all about adding maybe 1 pound a year, if that, of muscle. You're not expecting anything more, if even. If even. So yeah, it takes time, and your stage weight doesn't mean anything, because even if you bring the same stage weight, you might look completely different, because it's all about the refinement of the whole package.
This year,
yeah,
I had a boob job.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, right, I've had a year off, I'm going to have a kilo of muscle and a kilo of boob, 2 kilo up. No,
a kilo of boob. Yeah, so that means nothing.
The big push-ups with the off-season, like, I've been 15 kilos above my stage weight, and I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
And my prep was it's not the first 10 kilo that's the problem, it's the last 5.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you've got you know, it's not that there's a number on, because everybody holds their body fat differently, whatever. But if you're uncomfortable in your off season, like really, really uncomfortable, you do have to think sometimes. And we've spoken about this loads, haven't we? Like, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it for maybe that extra pound of muscle to hate what you look like for 6 months of the year? No, not at all.
No, exactly. Like when I get to the point where I won't even wear sports bra only in the gym, that's when I know I've taken it too far, because I know that psychologically makes me feel bad about myself and makes me not want to train properly and makes my performance dip. And then I'm like, is there a point in pushing body weight that much up if it's going to negatively impact my performance and my training? Like, it just seems counterintuitive to do that.
Yeah, and even things like you're in your off season, you want to be flexible, you want to be social, you want to go out. Like, I didn't want to go anywhere when I was a lot heavier, I carried more body fat, like, and that just sucks because you can't do much in your prep other than just be, you know, social without the drinks and the food and all that if you've got the energy. And you do want to live as and you have to think as well when you come away from competing, what do you want to look like?
Yeah. How do you want to sit? Like, if you're living in the world of extremes of like super shredded to super off season, then you don't learn how to live in the middle where you feel good and you look good and you look like a normal human who fits into normal clothes and can wear crop tops in off season and isn't just like drowning themselves in baggy hoodies all the time, which is, I think, because that's normalized in the gym world where it's normal for girls in off season to just wear baggy everything. You don't realize that, like, you probably shouldn't feel like you need to live like that most of the year. You probably should, you know, enjoy your shape and feel confident and feel good. And as you said, make the most of the social occasions that you can't do in prep. Go on holiday, wear a bikini in off season, feel good in it, rather than thinking, God, I can't do this, you know? So don't let it stop you from living your life, because it is going to be the most amount of time you spend is going to be in a building phase or an off season.
Yeah, you're only shredded for like a few weeks.
A week, yeah. Then it's gone the next day, pretty much, after the off-plan meal.
Yeah, if you're doing multiple shows.
Exactly, yeah. So remember that 95% of your time is going to be in the off season, so don't spend it absolutely hating how you look and feeling horrendous and being self-conscious and not being confident in your own clothes. Like, I just think that is such a waste of a life. And there is more to life than competing. As much as it is important and we love it and it is something we're passionate about, there is so much more to life than that, and we are very much advocates of that. So yeah, I think that is all the ICKS. Have we covered them all, do you think? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. That was a good roundup though. I think we had a good discussion. But yeah, guys, if you have any more ICKS that you'd like to share with us, we are all ears. We all want to know what are your biggest ICKS and red flag. We should do another one on red flags, because I have so many on like coaching red flags and different things like that. So we'll do one on that as well. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did tune in, please take a screenshot, share it to your story, tag myself. I'm at Holly_Physique Collective, and Mel is at Mel Wilk Fit. Is that right? Mel Wilk Fit on Instagram. She's also just created a new lifestyle Instagram called Mel Wilk's Life. So if you want to follow that, my personal Instagram, I don't even use for competing, but if you want to follow my food page to see what we ate in Dubai, it's at Hungry Holly Diaries, because the food was great. The acai bowls were incredible. We did consume a lot of coffee. And if you want to follow and see what we got up to, make sure you follow that page. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.